Her name is Rio, and she dances on the sand. Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guest Tim Davis. This is the podcast where 2 out of the 3 of us went and saw a movie tonight, and we're going to talk about it right after the movie. Once the third member showed up and was able to make it to recording, we're going to talk about such things as, or at least 2 of us are going to talk about such things as, should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you snack during it? Should you hold off? Do you need to pay attention? Is it a date movie? Can you take a nap? I don't know. All those things, maybe none of those things. We try our best. Don't hate us. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And yes, welcome to another podcast. We're reviewing the movie Dune Part 2 tonight. And I think this is the type of movie where you have to pay attention. And even if you do, you still might be lost. But we'll get into all that. First, Tim, who's in this movie?
Who isn't in this movie is probably a more appropriate question. But we'll go with at least the main list of people who are household names. Timothée Chalamet is back as the lead, Paul. Of course, known for a few movies over the years. Wonka, most recently. What was the one he won the award for? A couple years ago. Do you remember, Todd?
No.
He was up for something. I just don't remember what it was. And then obviously Zendaya is back. Bigger part in this one. We've got Rebecca Ferguson is back as the priest mother. Josh Brolin shows up again.
Yep.
And we have Dave Bautista is back as one of the henchman of the bad guys. Stellan Skarsgård is back as the lead henchman, I guess. Well, not even henchman. He's like the not emperor, but the emperor's crony. And then Javier Bardem is back as the leader of the resistance guys. We've got Christopher Walken shows up in this one, and he's the actual emperor of all the worlds. Florence Pugh shows up, and she is the emperor's daughter in this world. And then we have, I don't know if she's a household name, but Léa Seydoux shows up as another one of these priest women. She was the main girl in the James Bond movies, the Daniel Craig James Bond movies. And then, so I recognized her from that. And then we have, not a household name, but becoming one maybe eventually. Austin Butler shows up as kind of a sadistic, one of the bad guys who's kind of the new warrior sent out to stop this resistance. He was most recently in the Elvis biopic. And I'd say that is it for all the big names, but there's a lot of people in this movie.
Yes. Well, there are a lot of people. There's a lot of people in this movie.
Yes.
A lot of famous people, a lot of not famous people, a lot of sandworms.
Yep.
Sandworms.
Got it all. So what is Dune Part 2 about? Well, it continues right after Dune Part 1. They don't really give you much about what happened in Dune Part 1, so I'd recommend you see it before you watch this movie.
Required viewing.
Yeah, so I could talk for a long time about what this movie's about. It's a long movie and it's very complex, so I'm going to try and just skim across the surface and give you a little bit of a flavor of what it's about, and then you can go see it yourself or not, depending on how we feel about it. So this movie is, like I said, picks up right after Dune Part 1, and you've got Timothée Chalamet's character, whose name is Paul Atreides, and basically in Part 1, his whole family, except for him and his mother, were murdered and brutally attacked, and as they were trying to kind of manage the planet Arrakis. Arrakis is notable in that it is the only source in the known universe for this thing called melange. I don't know if they refer to it as that in this movie, or spice, which allows interstellar travel to happen. So in this movie, he's kind of out in the desert with it's a desert planet. He's out in the desert with the desert people called Fremen. And he's kind of he's starting to tick the boxes to fulfill this prophecy that more and more people in the Fremen are believing that he's this kind of Messiah figure. And in the movie, basically the Fremen are staging attacks on the new rulers of Arrakis, the Harkonnen family, which were the rulers before the Atreides family came there. But anyway, the Harkonnen family has sent emissaries, different emissaries throughout the movie to try and control the Fremen. The Fremen are fighting back. They are doing a guerrilla-style attack and attacks on the spice mining operations and the
kind of thwarting them at every turn.
Leadership at large, right? And so all of this culminates into Paul Atreides kind of rising to fame, his mother kind of rising and becoming a central religious figure on this planet. And it all culminates in a big battle, and the emperor of the whole galaxy or whatever is there, and there's lots that happen, and then they set it up for possibly more movies. So that's kind of in a nutshell what it's about. And this is the part where I would say, what's your gut reaction, Todd? But you don't have one.
I don't. It was me. I was the one who wasn't here.
Yes. So instead,
for good reasons, though.
He's
I didn't just
here in
leave you
spirit.
guys because I didn't want to come. There were some good reasons.
Yes.
I'm not going to share them on the podcast.
He's here in spirit.
Okay. Well, appreciate you coming out and meeting us tonight for this. And instead of you, I'll go to Tim and say, Tim, what's your gut reaction to Dune Part 2?
My gut reaction is what I'll say to you right when we came out of the theater, which is I'm kind of in this torn position about this movie. I enjoyed myself. I was enraptured the entire time. However, I felt like if these two movies are 25 chapters of a story, we got 10 of them. As an uninitiated person, it moves along fast, so like it never feels like it's runtime. Both movies, I agree. Like they keep you moving, and there's stuff going on, and they throw it at you, and it's like you can get this beats, but like if you're looking for more details or more explanation, they're not going to give it to you. And it's still okay. It's still a satisfying conclusion. It's still you feel like some characters got their arcs completed, or at least got a big resolution to the main thing that they were after. But there's also a lot of stuff left on the table, and not just for sequel stuff. I just feel like there's stuff that like they touched on and we never get back to, and it felt like things were like it's like you got the cliff notes of the book. And I don't know if that's good or bad, because like I said, I was captivated just like the first movie. It's gorgeously shot. The music is pounding in this one. I don't know if it was the theater we were in. We weren't even in like a Dolby Vision or an IMAX or anything, but I tell you, it felt like one. The sound design in this one was even more incredible. The visuals were amazing. Like, I thought all the actors brought it and took it seriously. The director clearly has a vision for this world and how he wants it to look. Like, all that came together, and it's worth watching. It's a great movie. I mean, you do have to have seen Part 1. I think you would be completely lost in Part 2 if you don't see Part 1. But like I said, for an uninitiated person like me who knew nothing about Dune going in, who knew nothing about the books and haven't seen the first movie back in the 80s, well, I haven't done any of that stuff. To me, it's a fascinating world that I feel like might benefit more from a miniseries treatment, where you can delve a little more into the world if you're looking to explore more into it. But as a 2-part movie that you could sit down and, I'm sure people will watch it together. It's a fascinating ride with a lot of interesting stuff going on, but it leaves you hanging as well. So like I said, I'm torn about it. I really enjoy it. I recommend it. But I also am not as satisfied as I want to be, even though I enjoyed myself. So that's kind of the overall feeling. And I'm still wrestling with it, but like you said, this is a gut reaction. And so that's my gut reaction. Matt?
Nice.
Cool. Well, I really liked the first movie.
Yeah.
And I thought that this movie actually was better than the first one.
I think that's a fair comment as well.
The movie is beautiful.
Yes.
You really get the sense of this desert planet world and all the different things that are indigenous to it, and you really get a sense for the different kind of cultures and groups of people in the movie. I think it's beautifully visually beautiful. I agree about the sound. The sound was
fantastic.
really good. And that's not something I usually pick out, but it was like there was moments where it was like thundering and appropriately so.
Like, if anything, it gave you the scope and the size of the worlds we're living in and the creatures. Like, especially it really highlighted the worms well.
Yeah.
Even though I still feel like they didn't overplay the worms either, but when they were there, you felt them literally. Like, the theater, you felt it.
Seats were shaking.
Yeah.
So it is a very complex movie.
Yeah, complex is a great word.
And I am a fan of, if you give me enough of the pieces to kind of put together what's happening, my brain eats it up. And I really enjoy that type of movie. And this was that type of movie.
Yes.
There were enough pieces here that I could kind of extrapolate what was going on and understand it, and I loved it. I really enjoyed where we went with the plot. There were a few times where I was like, okay, we can all see where this is going because there's a prophecy involved and the prophecy has to come true.
Right.
And then we got to the end. The end was fantastic. I didn't see the end coming. I didn't see how it was going to unfold. Maybe I would have if I read the book. I don't know. I haven't read the book.
No, I think
But I really liked.
There's also a lot of them.
Yeah, that's true.
it's a satisfying conclusion.
It is a satisfying conclusion. They definitely leave the door open for more, for at least another movie. And but I really liked what they did with it. I thought the acting in it was really good. Everybody kind of delivered on what their character needed to be, and they did a great job. So, there's not much that was a downside for me. I really was interested going in to see how they kind of played this Paul Atreides, this white dude coming in to the indigenous people and like becoming the savior. And I really thought there wasn't any big problem with that.
No,
I thought there could have been. They could have done it badly, and I thought they handled it pretty well. So, overall, I loved the movie. I thought it was really good. If you're not into complex movies, maybe not. If you're not into, if you haven't seen the first one, maybe not this one until you've seen the first one. But other than that, I think everyone should see it and see it in theaters. This is definitely a theater movie for sure.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. So that's where I'll end up.
Fair enough. I'm really want to see it.
Yes, I think you you should, Todd.
Oh, I'm definitely going to. All right, getting down to business here. How many blue eyes would you give this movie?
Sets of pairs of blue eyes.
Pairs of blue eyes.
Pairs of blue eyes. Okay.
0 being the worst because then you have no eyes and that's rough. 5 sets of eyes being the best because then you got a lot of vision and no one can sneak up on you.
Very true.
Tim?
Well, I did not see Dune Part 1 with you guys, so I personally saw it in theaters when they re-released it about a month ago, and I rated it a 3.1. I would argue, even though you need to see that one for Dune Part 2 to be enjoyable, I do rank Part 2 higher, like you said, Matt. I put it at a 3.4. There's even 3.1 had the exposition to get through. Part 1, I mean. Part 2 is like, well, you're here we go. And that's okay. Because, like I said, Part 1 is required viewing. And if you haven't seen Part 1, then Part 2 is just strap in. We're ready to go. And I really enjoyed it.
Nice. Matt?
Well, I'm going to go with 4.2 sets of eyes.
Nice.
Which is, I believe, 8.4 total eyes, which is
there you go.
very interesting amount of eyes. But anyway, 4.2 sets of eyes out of 5 for me. Thought it was really good. It's one of the best movies that this year hasn't been around all that long. We're just entering into March, but I thought really good, and I think that you should see it. See it in theaters, you'll enjoy it too, I think. So that's where I'll leave that.
Nice.
Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
It'll be interesting to see if we get a third movie now, based on the success of this. The director has said that he would be willing to do it, but not much more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was already set in stone that he's doing it.
That
But
was the
he
interview
made
I
it. He made it clear. He's like, I got one more, and that's it. I don't want to do it anymore.
And I'm not sure I would want another director to do it because I feel like he's got a handle on it. With the little knowledge I have.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go.
Y'all just hanging out here too?
Yes, we're about to leave though. We're just talking.
I'm just warning everybody that's our friend here. Please be careful because police will be patrolling because we got robbed a couple days ago.
Oh, I got
Oh,
you.
thank you for that.
Too, because some crazy people starting to come around here.
I got you.
Y'all probably ain't see it because y'all wasn't here earlier, but it literally was a person trying to break in and crash their car inside until I stopped them.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
Please be
jeez.
careful.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you for
Thank
letting
you
us
so
know.
much. We
Y'all
didn't
good
know.
though. Y'all chill and smoke. Do what y'all do.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Wow, okay.
Well,
Wow.
a little bit of pulling the curtain back. We got a warning about some robberies we're here in front of Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
And
the little Broken Land Snowden River shopping center.
yeah,
The
so
Columbia, Maryland area.
yeah. So anyway, back on track here.
What an exciting end.
Yes.
Maybe more scary than a sandworm.
Maybe more scary than a sandworm. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we reviewed the movie Dune Part 2. We gave it an average rating of 3. I got off track with our friend, our visitor.
It's going to be pretty high.
3.8
Yeah.
sets of eyes out of 5. That's a great score.
That is a great score.
And so
For now, it's 3.8.
And
for
the,
now.
And the,
Yeah.
as I was saying, the spreadsheet will be updated once Todd.
eventually Todd will see it
Yes.
too, and we'll have a complete set of at least 3 rankings, so that's always good. Anyway, thank you for listening, everyone, subscribing, downloading. Please continue to do those things, and we will see you next time.
Da 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 da.
Da da da.